On the 638th day of the war in Ukraine, the fighting was concentrated in these areas. In Donetsk front, clashes were reported north and southeast of Avdiivka. Geolocated footage published by Ukrainian sources shows that the previous Ukrainian counterattacks were of a larger scale than it appeared before, as the Bradley infantry fighting vehicles of the 47th Mechanized Brigade reached the eastern edge of the village of Stepove, and after opening fire and suppressing the Russian positions near the railway, Ukrainian infantry forces landed and took positions on the nearby damaged buildings. This geolocated footage refutes the numerous claims made by pro-Russian sources about the village coming under the Russian control. On the other hand, the intensity of the Russian attacks towards the chemical plant dropped, as during the past few days neither side published any footage showing any substantial presence of the Russian infantry forces across the railway. Russian sources published a photo of a Russian soldier standing next to a Bradley infantry fighting vehicle and claimed that they were able to capture this vehicle. However, in reality the damaged Bradley is in fact an old loss from early November, and considering that so far no Russian vehicle has managed to approach the railway line, it is unlikely that Russians were able to bring one of their armored vehicles across the railway and tow the Bradley away to their rear. Further north, Russian forces consolidated their positions along the railway line south of Novoprokopivka, but Ukrainian forces continued to use FPV drones to target and hit the Russian forces inside the trenches, effectively stopping their advance. Southeast of Avdiivka, fighting is ongoing inside the industrial zone, where the Russian forces continue their attempts to fully capture the Ukrainian stronghold. During the last 24 hours, Russian forces did not manage to make any significant advances. However, new footage emerged and showed that during the initial phase of attacks, Russian forces used an underground tunnel to bypass some of the Ukrainian trenches and capture a series of positions inside the residential area, which indicates that Russians have a bigger control on the western side. According to geolocated footage, Ukrainian forces are still present on the western parts of the industrial zone, as today Russian sources published a video of a machine gun position of the Ukrainian forces on one of the buildings on the western edge of the industrial zone. On Bakhmut front, the Russian army resumed the offensive operations on the southern part of the front, and during the past few days they were able to advance north of Klishchiivka by taking under their control the areas near the train station as well as the part of the forests north of the Ukrainian village. Recent geolocated footage shows that the Russian army is trying to expand their control near the heights west of Klishchiivka by attempting to advance with small infantry units to attack the Ukrainian positions west and northwest of the village. Due to the lack of armored support, the casualties among the Russian infantry forces are high, which has resulted in a stagnation of the Russian advance in this direction. The Russian army also continued the waves of infantry and armored assaults east of Andriivka, and despite the heavy losses, they advanced into the grey areas east of the village and likely even reached the railway embankment near Andriivka. Geolocated footage published by Ukrainian sources showed mortar units of the 3rd Assault Brigade hitting some positions along the railway, confirming the Russian presence in this area. In Zaporizhzhia front, heavy battles are reported taking place in the Novoprokopivka sector. The Ukrainian army resumed the offensive operations towards the town of Novoprokopivka, and as shown by geolocated footage published during the last 24 hours, after a series of armored assaults, Ukrainians were able to land infantry forces and establish control over new positions near the northern outskirts of the town, and at the same time they expanded their control over the heights southwest of Robotine. Russian sources published footage showing their FPV drones working over some dugout positions and trenches north of Novoprokopivka, confirming the Ukrainian advance in this direction. Russian forces tried to counterattack by moving their infantry forces through the tree lines north of Novoprokopivka, but Ukrainians used cluster rounds to destroy the Russian forces and also managed to destroy a BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicle near the first buildings on the northern part of the town. Friends, if you like my daily updates, I kindly ask you to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as this will greatly help the channel to reach a wider audience. That's all for today's update. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and have a great day.